Lieutenant Commander Jocko WILLINK. Congressional order. Do any other act necessary and proper. Please take action, sir. On the 15th of June, 2024. I am Staff Sergeant Rotluski, Robert Allen. DOD ID number 12112800006, sir. And I'm here to report that there's an answer to all this shit going on in the United States right now that includes the American Legion, which has a congressional order to do any other act necessary and proper to fulfill its purpose. And its number one purpose is to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. Actually, uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. Not the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution of the United States. Which gets to be a big deal, as I'm going to show you shortly, sir, that, the devil had to leave an answer someplace, and there is one, but because the devil's in the details, he makes sure that there's errors and omissions and all sorts of records that keep things from happening the way that they were intended to happen by the law or the act or whatever was written. And I have lots of experience in this, sir. I'm a subject matter expert on this kind of bullshit. 500 videos picking apart whatever it is. So we're going to pick something apart right now. And I am Rob Ryder. My email address is courtofrecord@aol.com. And my other videos are on Rob Ryder, sir. So if you could contact me at courtofrecord@aol.com, I'd really appreciate it. And it doesn't have to be you, sir. I mean, it could be anybody. Any special forces, anyone who can do one thing. This is what we need, sir. There are other options, but here's one. We need a commander of a garrison town to write an order for a court of inquiry to look into why the American Legion hasn't complied with its charter. Because not doing so is a fraud against the United States, and that's a violation of the UCMJ. And, we're at war right now. That's what Trump proved by getting the Congress to enact the short name, the Legion Act, which basically redefined what war is, because now you can be a member of the Legion if you served since 1941 till today. Well, there used to be all these different times, broken up by times of peace. Well, of course, there's never been any peace. It's just they were undeclared wars. However, by doing this act and now allowing anybody who served to be a member of the American Legion without changing the requirement that they had served during a war, right? We've been at war. And so it's a whole different ballgame. It's not civilian anything. It's all about the military. And those that have served have a special duty after they get out, or let's say an opportunity that was created by the Doughboys. Actually, Theodore Roosevelt's eldest son, I believe, was the first national commander of the American Legion. And when they created it, sir, they knew at the time that we were going to be dealing with communists. They were worried about having communist infiltration because, as they point out in this book they wrote about it, that, what they would do is they would go in and they would change words in the Constitution. And not tell anybody. We'll just go change the Constitution. And I'm going to show you where that's already been done. It's easy to see that, why they would worry about things like that. So what do we have to do, sir? It's really simple. We got to get the American Legion to follow its charter. I'm going to show you that right now. Just give me 1 second. Now, sir, we're going to look at the National Constitution bylaws of the American Legion just for a second. But I have much more fully explained anything I'm going to say now in videos that I have posted on YouTube under Rob Ryder, ROBBB, RYDER. Including the latest one, military due process mistrial for Stephen K. Bannon. Now, Lieutenant Bannon, he's still in the military. And we're under war time right now, according to Congress, who changed the dates on the American Legion's requirements. And so under the Fifth Amendment, Lieutenant Bannon cannot be charged by an indictment. He can only be charged by charges of specifications under the UCMJ. And so his esquire should be demanding a mistrial. But that'll probably never happen because, well, that's the problem. They're an esquire, which is an agent of the crown. So, yeah, we were invaded a long time ago, sir. Long time ago. So, in the Congressional Charter, it says that the American Legion, right, the American Legion, is a federally chartered corporation. That'd be important to know in just a minute. And it has particular purposes. And its purpose is to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. It does not say the Constitution of the United States of America. It will make a difference in a minute. And then to consecrate the efforts of its members to mutual helpfulness and service to their country. Well, what could be better? Right? And this is the membership. See, this is what he used to say. He used to have all these breaks. Well, now it's just from 1941, from December 7th, 1941 till today. And so even active duty service members can be members of the American Legion. And then it had certain powers given to it. The one that I pointed out to you was to do any other act necessary and proper to carry out the purpose of its corporation. And the purpose is to support, uphold, and defend the Constitution of the United States. And so now we can talk about that for just a second. And just to quickly show, well, there are two different constitutions. This is the Constitution that's in the Manual of Court Martials under Appendix 1. It's the Constitution of the United States, 1787. This is the Constitution that Congress uses. This would be in what they call the pocket Constitution. It says it's the Constitution of the United States of America. And they are different. And I'll show you specifically where, but for now, the 6th article is the same. So let's just look at the 6th article. So remembering there are two different constitutions, they both have the same 6th article. And the 6th article says that the senators and representatives before mentioned and the members of the several state legislatures and all ALL executive judicial officers both of the United States and the several states shall be bound by oath of affirmation to support this Constitution. But no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. So here's the rub, sir. Right? That's what the Constitution says. And so then, the very first law passed after ratification of the Constitution that we just read, on June 1st, 1789, President Washington signed into law an act to regulate time and manner of administering certain oaths. And it says that the oath or affirmation required by the 6th article of the Constitution of the United States, that's the one we're looking at, that's the one that's in the Manual of Court Martials, shall be administered in the following form, to wit, I, A.B., got to put your full legal name in, no middle initials. You have to use your proper identification. So I, Robert Allen Ratluski, or Ratluski, Robert Allen, it's probably proper, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States. Period. That's the oath that has to be taken by everybody in the 6th article, which is all executive officers, judicial officers, members of Congress, the House of Representatives, the senators, the state legislators, your governor, everyone, sir. And none of them have taken it, sir. We need to stop there just for a second because really, if we're not going to enforce the first law of our nation, then why would anybody follow any of them? And therein lies the problem. Nobody does. Under English common law, to avoid a loyalty oath, which this is it's a hanging offense. Actually, it would have been execution by, having their head chopped off. Started by Henry VIII, who executed his chancellor, Thomas More, St. Thomas More, because St. Thomas More wouldn't take his loyalty oath. So, it's for real deal. And none of these people have. So then who the hell are they if they're not taking a loyalty oath? Well, that makes them either spies or saboteurs, sir. Right? They're definitely not the government. So anyways, this is one stat, STAT 23. One of your people could easily find it for you online. And if you just read it real quick, you'll see that it talks about how it's all supposed to be done. And then you get down here, and then down here it says that the Secretary of the Senate and the Clerk of the House have another oath to take. So here we are again. Well, what can we do with this? Well, some commander of a garrison town could convene a court of inquiry to go to these clerk in the Senate or the Secretary of the Senate and, confiscate the records, inspect the records, however it's done, and see if these people have taken the oath of office. People sitting there now, if they haven't, well, then they're not the Congress. Quit calling them the Congress and quit worrying about trying to get them reelected. They have nothing to do with the United States. Right? It may be the United States of America, but it's not the United States, which is the thing in the Constitution. There is no United States of America in the Constitution. There is a United States country of the continent of America, but there's no entity called the United States of America. Although they try to make that be the democracy and say, well, that's the United States of America, and we're going to call it, that is what the democracy is. So if there's, people that are self-ruling and those that need to be ruled, well, those that need to be ruled can go to the democracy, and the self-governing can go to the republic. And that's what they're not allowing to happen. And the way they do that, sir, is by putting errors in records. And here's where it started. Started the very first law, because we don't enforce this law. They're not going to follow any other fucking laws. But if we followed this one law right here, we could clean house, and all them, really bad ones they're all going anyways. Right? Most people are just following along and have no idea what they're doing. But I'm telling you, nobody takes this oath, sir. Right? Prove me wrong. In fact, later, that same oath has been taken and put into the United States Code in Title IV, United States Code, under Section 101, Oath by Members of Legislature and Officers. For every member of state legislature and every executive and judicial officer of a state shall, before he proceeds, execute duty of his office, take an oath in the following form. All right, so I forget what Trump's judge name was in New York. Why doesn't somebody go see if he took this oath or not? Because if he didn't take this oath, he's not a state judge of New York. He cannot be. He cannot be a state judicial officer. Just like your governor cannot be the governor unless they've taken this oath. And it's been recorded, which is covered in number 102. Secretary of State or wherever the hell they record. Oath set. And so any office that is in your state's constitution, them's people have to have taken this oath right here, regardless of what their state constitution tells them they have to do. The supreme law of the land are the laws of the United States, and this is one of them. And this is certainly one of them. So back to the American Legion, then what could be the problem? Right? Because they're a federal charter. They have a federal charter. They had been given these powers by Congress. But if you go a little bit further, so you get to this Section 21707, Service of Process, where as a condition to exercise any power or privilege granted by this chapter, the corporation shall file with the Secretary of State or other designated official of each state the name and address of an agent in that state on whom legal process and demands against corporation may be served. And they haven't done it. Now, I'm going to show you some stuff to show you how trickery this stuff is. There is somebody in D.C. that's been registered, and I haven't contacted them yet. I'm going to try that soon, but I'm contacting you now. Maybe I can just, nip the bud, and we can just figure out how to get it done in every state, because there should be somebody registered in Michigan, and there isn't. There should be somebody registered in Indiana, where the headquarters is, and there isn't. There should be somebody registered in Florida, and there isn't. Right? There is no, or if they are, they are concealed. I'll just put it that way. You can't go online, go look up the business and say, well, there's the name of the business. Go to the business records of the state. All the shit's online, and find out who their registered agent is, because that's the way business is done. If you want to have a corporation, you have to have a registered agent registered with the Secretary of State or whoever the licensing agency is of your state, so you can do business in the state. And there isn't one. That's all we need to do. If we get the agents registered in the state, then the American Legion has these powers, and it is then a federal corporation, which has a whole bunch of other things to do now that we say, okay, let's do it. Now let's be a federal corporation. What does that do as a member? Now, I'm not the one that has to explain how come all these things tie together, but I'm going to show how they tie together. So in Title 28 of the United States Code, sir, in Chapter 176, this is all about federal debt collection procedure. Which, what the hell does that mean? Well, this is except as provided in subsection B. The chapter provides exclusive civil procedures for the United States to recover a judgment on a debt or to obtain before a judgment on a claim for a debt, a remedy in connection with such claim. Then it goes on to explain what debts are and gives all sorts of definitions and, so on and so forth. Well, in these definitions, it defines what the United States means. And it says the United States means a federal corporation. Well, that'd be the American Legion. So now we can say, well, any place you see United States in this law, you can just put in the American Legion and say, it's all about the American Legion. Now, it's not the only thing that means United States. An agency, department, commission, board, or other entity of the United States, or instrumentality of the United States. Well, those are all the United States. But here's the problem. None of these in the agencies or departments or commissions or boards or any of these other places have taken a proper oath of office. So they really don't exist. What we see doing these things is not the United States. It's this thing called the United States of America, which I believe is the jurisdiction of King George III and his successors. Some part of the deal worked out in the Treaty of Peace of 1783 where, not everybody wanted to was against the king. In fact, most people were with the king. But they cut a deal and, basically got two different jurisdictions running parallel to each other, sharing the same territory. And you decide which one you're going to be in. The problem is that we're not being allowed to decide because of this thing called clericalism, where they put errors and omissions in your records. Pretty soon, what should have happened doesn't happen. And a perfect example is, as an enlisted man, when I enlisted, on the DD Form 4 they have you fill out, very first pieces of paper you do when you go in the military, that's like your contract that you and the government are going to sign, has your oath of enlistment on it and so forth. Well, it has your name as Rutluski, Robert Allen. And your DD 214, when you get out, it has your name as Rutluski, Robert Allen. But all the orders ever issued in between were for Rutluski, Robert A. What is that about? They create all these different record sets using all different styles of your names when in reality you enlisted with one name. And that's the name, your full legal name for everything to happen in the military. That's the only name that they should have. Them or the VA, and that's not the case. They're using 4 or 5 different styles of names. If you ever get any paperwork in the VA, sir, just start looking at the name that's on the envelope and the name of the letters too, and the name that they use for the person having a checkup or whatever. It's Rutluski, Robert A. Rutluski, Robert Rutluski, everything, even sometimes Robert Allen Rutluski, but not all the time. I've done many videos on that, so I just leave it there. My point is that the American Legion is supposed to be acting as the United States in the collection of debts owed the United States. And it has available to it as the Council of the United States, which is now, the Council for the American Legion, would be the United States Attorney or any private attorney. Authorized contract in accordance with. So write a contract with the dude to have him do what needs to be done, but to go collect the debts. Now you may ask yourself, well, what debts are you talking about, Sergeant? Well, here's an example, sir. This is some of the other things I've done videos on besides military stuff. Let's just take taxes, for instance. Let's take somebody's delinquent tax notice from the Casket County Treasurer that said they owed, $1,200 this year, $1,200 that year, $1,200 this year. If you don't pay this, we're going to take your property. Although, as you can see on the bill, there is no property address. What are you going to take? There's nothing there. and the owner's name is Smith Dana R., when the man's name is Smith, Dana Reed, Navy vet, by the way. And it says on here to make the check or money order payable to the Kalkaska County Treasurer. Well, isn't that interesting? Right? So you're supposed to make the check payable to the Kalkaska County Treasurer. Well, that would make the Kalkaska County Treasurer the payee. And we have laws in the United States that say, well, if you're going to pay somebody more than $600 a year, especially by check, right, that it falls on you to get them to execute an IRS W-9 form, actually Department of Treasury form, W-9, right? Request for taxpayer identification number and certification. So if I'm going to make the Kalkaska County Treasurer the payee, then the Kalkaska County Treasurer has to fill this out with the name Kalkaska County Treasurer up here, or it could be here. I don't care. Either one, fill in one of the blanks, say that it's Kalkaska County Treasurer, and do all these other blocks, because even if you're a subdivision of the state, you have to have an EIN number. Well, guess who doesn't have an EIN number, sir? The Kalkaska County Treasurer. And it doesn't matter what county it is. You're getting property taxes, it's going to be something like this, and whatever this individual is here, right? If you try to get their W-9 from them, they're not going to have one. And so technically, because you're not getting the W-9 from them, yet you're writing in the check, you're helping a tax evader evade taxes. And now you're responsible because they know who the hell you are. You're the dude that wrote the check. You got a Social Security number, right? You know, that's your tax number. So now you're the tax evader, or at least you're aiding and abetting the enemies of the United States who don't have an EIN number, yet are trying to do business in the United States. Well, that's fucking black market, sir. You know, that's what's happened. We've been taken over by black market. It's all run by esquires. None of these people have an oath of office. No fucking esquire can produce the oath he needed to have to be an attorney in your state. It's a scam, sham from the top. It's black magic, voodoo. It's all sorts of stuff, sir. But there is an answer for it, and it's the Legion. Because the reality is, if this money was owed, at some point it was owed to the United States. So this all feeds back to the United States. Any place that's taken federal funding is a debtor to the United States. Sheriff Department, school board, township hall, every place you see a gold fringe flag, sir, they're indebted to the United States. That gold fringe flag, during a time of war, in a military situation, which is what we're in now, because we're at war. That's what Congress said. Well, then there's an Army regulation. It's Army Regulation 840-10, 840-10, Section 2, or Paragraph 2, Section 3 of that paragraph, where it talks about, the gold French flag and where it can be displayed, which is very few places. Actually, it's Army Regulation 840-10, flags, guidelines, streamers, and so forth, where it talks about in Chapter 2, the flag of the United States, which is the symbol of our nation, right? So any place you see the flag, well, that's a symbol of the nation, means the nation has jurisdiction. In Section 3, it talks about authorized for indoor display. The flag of the United States is authorized for indoor display for each office, headquarters, organization, right? Military, organization, battalions, military offices, well, military courtrooms, well, that's military. U.S. Army element, joint commands, well, that's military. Subordinate element, U.S. Army, well, that's military. ROTC, military, sir. Senior executive service, all them people in the SES that Obama put in, his underground military, where they're all, they're all under the military. They can all be tried by the UCMJ. But right here, national flag listed below are for indoor display and for use in ceremonies and parades. For purpose of the flag, United States will be rayon banner, cloth, heavyweight nylon, trimmed on 3 sides with gold and yellow fringe, so forth and so on. So people will poo-poo that gold fringe on a flag, and they'll try to make it be all sorts of things. Well, what it really is, it's a symbol of military jurisdiction under the United States, not the United States of America. Back to that in just a second. But actually, it's much worse than this, because this same county then, this thing called Kalkaska County, also has a document called a Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. Every county does. And what you would find is that these things are just chock full of money that has been given to the county that makes up these accounts that never, that never seems to money to come out. It only ever goes in. They only ever get bigger, sir. It's like bank accounts. They're depositories. And, so like in my case, the county I'm in, it may have $700 million in net. Well, why does it need to charge you more taxes? Why do we have $700 million sitting in the fucking accounts in the county? It doesn't make any damn sense. Except, well, that's really not the county that's doing this, the governing. It's, just a business called Kalkaska County. Because the proper name is actually just Kalkaska. You look at a map. What's the name of the county? Well, it's called Kalkaska. Go look at a map. It may be now called the County of Kalkaska with the C capitalized, because now it's an organized county named Kalkaska. But Kalkaska County is actually the name of, some private organization of some kind that's been overlaid, the administrative state overlaid over the rest of us, the de facto on top of the de jure. Just a few more minutes, sir, but this is really important to point out. There are truly 2 different constitutions being used, sir. This is the one that's in the Manual Court Martials, 2004 edition, or 2024 edition. And just to show on this very first page, well, this says Constitution of the United States of America, last line of the preamble. If we look at the one called the Constitution of the United States of America, that's used by Congress, it says Constitution for the United States of America. So obviously they're different. Now, what else is different? Well, let me show you real quick. This is the Constitution of the United States, the one that's in the Manual Court Martials, Article 2. Section 1, the executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States. And look at the one that Congress uses, Article 2, Section 1, the executive power shall be vested in a president of the United States of America. Well, sir, I didn't take an oath to the president of the United States of America. You were enlisted, I know, at one time and then became an officer. So you've taken both these oaths. Right? Here's the oath of enlistment. Solemnly swear or affirm I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States, not United States of America, against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States. It doesn't say President of the United States of America. I know officers, you don't have President in there, but you still have Constitution of the United States. So we're defending the same Constitution. And then I had to point out, sir, see where it says I, and then you put your name, and then SSAN, which is actually your Social Security account number, which is actually the number that's on the front of the card when they give it to you, the one that everybody saw. There's my Social Security number. But it's not your Social Security number. It's your Social Security account number. Your Social Security number is some other number. But the number on the card is a SSAN. So they have you do it properly. It's just they have all the rest of us do it improperly because they always ask on every other document for your Social Security number. And we all put down the same number that's on the Social Security card that is actually the Social Security account number. You know, we just self-confess ourselves into all sorts of trouble because of these errors and omissions and tricks and deceit and the devil's in the details. That's all I can tell you. Just go to look in the details. You're sure to find the devil. And that's what we got. So I'll leave it with this, sir, that in Michigan, at one time, the American Legion was registered. February 5th, 1920. And it had a perpetual term, but for whatever reason, it was dissolved in 1981. Well, now there's this thing called the American Legion, Department of Michigan, which was incorporated in Michigan in 1932. So it's not a federal corporation, it's a Michigan corporation. But it's what's running now, and it's the thing sitting in the building. Right, it's sitting in Lansing, Michigan, in the American Legion Department of Michigan building. But this isn't the corporation that was created by the federal charter, which says in its charter that the exclusive name is the American Legion or just American Legion, right? Not the American Legion, Department of Michigan. It's not listed as an exclusive name. And it's the name of the federal corporation that has to be recorded according to the service of process. It doesn't care about this state corporation. It's got nothing to do with the federal charter. But to add insult to injury, right, here's the incorporation paperwork for the American Legion Department of Michigan as it was recorded back in whatever this was. This is the first page. Right? It says to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America and the state of Michigan. That's not what the charter said for the American Legion. And that's the first page. And then this is the second page. And so even though it says on the first page, well, this was really never done. They just pretended to do it. It's there's nothing at the bottom here to show that it was ever witnessed by an official witness like a notary, right? Their notary stuff wasn't done, so this was never. They were never actually created, and yet that's what you can find when you go look online today. That well, sure it is. It's right here, right? Where's the American Legion? What are you talking about? It doesn't exist. It's right here. No, this isn't it. This is a state. It isn't even created. They didn't do their paperwork. That's the whole thing, right? It's all fiction, sir. Fiction on top of fiction, lie on top of lie. It goes on and on and on. And you got to keep your head on a swivel because it comes from all different directions. So this is what we got to get fixed, sir. We got to get this, to end this, right? This is not any good. It has to be like this, right? The American Legion needs to be perpetual and not dissolved. And it has to be that way in every state. Because when it is that way in every state, then, this thing here called the American Legion becomes not the United States, just the United States. With all the power to support and defend the Constitution. So now all these people who didn't take an oath to support the Constitution of the United States, well, we can do something about it. We're not going to collect the debt. We're going to call the fucking MPs. And, clean house. And that, as soon as you put the fear of God in some of these people, all the people that have, that aren't of the devil will, as soon as you put the fear of God back in them, they will change their ways. They'll be happy to be done with it. But the only way that's going to happen is to put the fear of God in them. And the way to do it, sir, is to say, well, MP, take them away. And by the time they get to the holding cell, they'll have, had their come to Jesus meeting. Anyway, sir, that's where we are today here in America, United States. And if you can do anything to help to get the American Legion properly registered, because we've been given an order, do any other act necessary and proper. Okay, well, we need to do any other act necessary and proper to get the American Legion registered. And, I'm not here to tell you how to do that, sir. I'm just hoping you have a better idea than mine, because that ain't worked for me so far. So please take action. Very good. Everyone have a great day, and I hope to hear from somebody. Quarter record at AOL.com. Have a good day.